Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The Sensex and the Nifty end with marginal gains after a range-bound session. Mid-caps underperform after gaining for 7 straight days. India's top trade negotiator extends his stay in Washington as talks enter the final phase to seal an interim deal. Sources say a stalemate continues over agri and dairy sectors. The White House says President Trump and his team will provide an update soon. The U.S. Senate holds a marathon session as Republicans struggle to gather enough votes to pass President Trump's sweeping budget bill. The legislation will add over $3 trillion to U.S. debt, even as it cuts healthcare and social security benefits. Elon Musk and President Donald Trump resume sparring on social media. Musk vows to unseat lawmakers who vote for Trump's budget bill and calls for the formation of a new political party. Trump threatens to cut subsidies to Musk's companies and taunts him to go back to South Africa. Musk dares Trump on subsidies, saying, "Cut it all." At least 36 people are dead after an explosion at a factory belonging to Sigachi Industries in Telangana. Authorities fear the death toll could increase as they expect to recover more bodies. Rescue operations are still underway more than 24 hours after the explosion. Shares of Sigachi Industries down 17% in the last 2 days. The government is likely to hike stipends under the Prime Minister's internship scheme after a weak response in the first 2 rounds. About 11,000 applicants have secured an internship so far compared to the target of 1.25 lakh set for FY25. Elon Musk's social media platform X tells the Karnataka High Court every Tom, Dick and Harry officer is issuing content takedown orders. Solicitor General takes strong exception to the comment, argues companies should not expect the digital sphere to be completely unregulated. The police are not magicians, says the Central Administrative Tribunal, as it holds RCB responsible for the stampede at the Bengaluru Stadium that killed 11 people, quashes the suspension of senior IPS officer Vikash Kumar, citing lack of sufficient grounds. A preliminary report on the Ahmedabad Air India crash is likely to be released soon. The report will provide the first official insight into the final moments of the Boeing Dreamliner plane before it went down, killing 275 people. No fuel for all vehicles starting today at the national capital. Multiple teams of government officials and police deployed at different petrol pumps as government ban on fuel for all vehicles takes effect. Well, straight to the top story this evening. JSW Paints is aiming to challenge the top 2 players in the industry after the acquisition of AkzoNobel's India assets. The company has acquired a majority stake of 74% in the maker of Dulux Paints. Mangalam caught up with JSW's Parth Jindal and the AkzoNobel CEO in the mega deal and began by asking them about the benchmark set for revenue and growth for the combined entity. Take a look.
First of all, we are very excited and honored to acquire this company, which has some of the most renowned brands globally, whether it is Dulux, whether it is International, whether it is Sickens. I think, it's one of the most iconic companies globally, and we've always been we've deeply respected everything that the business has done in India. So when this opportunity came, we felt that it's the right opportunity for JSW Paints, and there are a lot of synergies between the two. So, once we, hopefully, if we get all the approvals, the Competition Commission of India approval, as well as complete the open offer, and we get into the business, we will become the 4th largest player in the Indian paint industry. With looking at FY25 numbers combined, we'd have a top line of about 6,000 crores. And we would be in striking distance of the 3rd largest player in the market. And our aim would obviously be, to understand the culture of AkzoNobel India, integrate the families of AkzoNobel India and JSW, make it one big, paint company. Look at the synergies in the market, because there are a tremendous amount of synergies both in the decorative side of things as well as on the industrial coating side of things. And then leverage the technology partnership that we will continue to have with AkzoNobel. So our goal is that we would like to come into the top 3 in decorative, and like to be the number 1 player in industrial coatings. So, like I said, we have to first get into the business. We have to understand everything, and then we have to start unlocking the synergies. So it's a bit premature to put a time frame to it, but I would like to say that we would like to do it at the earliest. And we have the synergies baked in. We see the opportunities in front of us. And we see the power of the brand of Dulux and the power of the JSW brand. Putting both of these, strong brands together How we do that, what is the brand architecture, all of that will play out as and when we come into the business. So, I don't have a time frame in mind, but at the earliest.
All right, at the earliest, 12,000 crore rupees is what JSW Paints is paying for the overall business, so to say. A third coming from banks, a third coming from private equity players, a third coming from their own kitty. Was that a tough negotiation that you had because there were many suitors for AkzoNobel India?
It was, but it was a very positive discussion because at the end of the day, it's about the proceeds, certainly, getting value out of the business, but it's also about finding the right partner because we believe in India, we're staying committed and invested in India. And as much as we're convinced that JSW will do a better job than we can to capitalize on the strength of Dulux in the deco market to grow faster, on the coating side, we remain the technology provider under a royalty agreement, and therefore it's a long-term partnership, and we wanted to make sure that we had the best partner, which we believe we do.
How many basis points is that royalty?
It's 4.5% of sales.
All right. And what about, further investment that you will make? Because you enter this business with some debt on your books. How much more elbow room would you have for any further capex deployment towards marketing spends, deployment towards distribution, and how much of that would be arising from the synergies?
Yeah, in terms of capacity, now when you look at the 5 facilities that we would be acquiring from AkzoNobel India and the 2 facilities, soon to be 3 facilities of JSW Paints, combined, we would have enough capacity to double the revenue from where we are today.
Got it.
So from 6,000 crores, we can take this business to 12,000 crores without adding any new facilities. And within the 8 facilities that I mentioned, there is enough brownfield capacity available as well to further expand. So in the near term, apart from certain debottleneckings and certain backward integrations in resin, there is no plan for either company to embark upon any serious capex. In terms of the branding, like I said, we have to establish the brand architecture, but yes, we will double down on our advertising spends. We have to we need both JSW Paints as well as Dulux. We will want to amp up the spends over there, because it is such an iconic brand, Dulux, and it is a brand that all of us know. All of us can sing the tune of Dulux, 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 and it's in, at least in my head all the time now, ever since I've been talking to Greg. So we want to definitely get the spends up in.
To what percentage have you?
No, see, the benefit for us is AkzoNobel India is acquiring the IP from AkzoNobel Global. So the 3.5% royalty that was being paid to AkzoNobel Europe on the decorative side goes away.
Right.
So that elbow room is available to the company to amp up spends on the advertising front, plus what JSW Paints has been spending, plus what Dulux itself has been spending. So overall, this becomes significant, and we will definitely build the brand. We will reinvest in the brand. We want Dulux to be everywhere. We want JSW Paints to be everywhere. So we will do that and grow the decorative piece.
Well, that's Parth Jindal there on the JSW AkzoNobel deal. But on to the day's market action. The Sensex and the Nifty ended with marginal gains today after a range-bound session. The Nifty holding on to 25,500. The Nifty Bank, PSU Bank Index rose for the 6th straight day. The Sensex up 90 points, 24 points higher on the Nifty. Nifty Bank up 150 and an absolutely flat close there today as far as the mid-cap index is concerned. Now, India's top trade negotiator has extended his stay in Washington as he talks enter the final phase to seal an interim deal. Sources say the stalemate, though, continues over agriculture and dairy sectors, including some others. The Trump administration is keen on maintaining a 10% tariff rate with India, while the Indian government wants tariffs to be brought down to 0 across several sectors. The US wants also to keep steel tariffs on India at 25%, but India wants an exemption after the Hurley harvest deal. India is also pushing hard for a competitive edge for its labor-intensive sectors in the proposed trade pact. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said President Trump is finalizing a trade pact with India, and the Indian government remains a strategic ally for the Trump administration. Take a look.
The president did announce last week that the trade deal with India is closed and this could happen anytime soon. Are there any roadblocks as of now? Are there any updates on that? And how does the president see this about China's role or its influence in the Indo-Pacific region?
Sure, yes. The president said that last week, and it remains true. I actually just spoke to our Secretary of Commerce about it. He was in the Oval Office with the president. They are finalizing these agreements, and you'll hear from the president and his team, his trade team, very soon when it comes to India.
And on China? How do we counter China on that front?
Yes, I mean, look, India remains a very strategic ally in the Asia-Pacific, and the president has a very good relationship with Prime Minister Modi, as you know, and he will continue to have that.
So will we seal the deal with the U.S.? That's the big question. And of course, we continue to track that story. Talks in the last lap, but sensitive issues still remain unaddressed. Now, Elon Musk-owned social media platform X has urged the Karnataka High Court to shield the platform from takedown orders issued by the centre. Takedown orders essentially mean that the government asked Twitter, former now X, to take down content from its platform. Advocate KG Raghavan, who's representing the social media company, said, and I quote, "Every Tom, Dick and Harry officer is issuing such directives." This drew strong objection from the Solicitor General, who was arguing for the government. Ashmit standing by now with more details. Ashmit, a fiery exchange in court. Where does this leave matters?
Well, as far as Elon Musk's X is concerned, they are remaining firm. They are dead set against the flurry of takedown orders that have been issued by the centre, especially under Section 79, especially orders without compliance with the various safeguards. And that is something that, in fact, Elon Musk's X has taken objection to previously. They've not been shy of using strong language. Previously, they've likened this to censorship. And now this time going ahead and saying that every Tom, Dick and Harry officer of government agencies are issuing such takedown orders, clocking in their protest against that before the Karnataka High Court, calling this a case of mischief, calling this an absolutely fit case for the Karnataka High Court to intervene and therefore to grant protection as far as X is concerned. Now, all of this is with respect to the very recent video of a car going on a railway track getting viral, and it is in response to that we understand that the Railway Ministry had issued takedown orders to X, and that was what was cited today. That is what inspired this comment coming in from the counsel for X. However, the Solicitor General did appear. He was in court. He clocked his protest, registered his protest against this use of language, saying that these are government officials and that such language should not be used. Outside of that, another important aspect to highlight, there's also a body of digital creators that has now moved the Karnataka High Court in support of X, saying that they are the ones that are getting affected. Their posts are the ones that are being taken down by X on account of these government orders, and therefore they should be heard going in to say that their right of free speech is getting affected and that they are also fit parties for this case. Now, in response to all of this, Karnataka High Court saying that we'll take up this case for final hearing on July 8th.
All right. Many thanks, Ashmit, for joining us. We will head into a break. But up next, the Union Cabinet clears an employment-linked incentive scheme with an outlay of over 1 lakh crore rupees. That and more with industry leaders when we return after the break. You're watching Business 360. The Union Cabinet has cleared an employment-linked incentive scheme with an outlay of over 1 lakh crore rupees. The Cabinet has also given the green light to a new research and development fund worth 1 lakh crore rupees. Both these are not new announcements. These were part of the budget announcements made by the Finance Minister earlier this year. Now, to discuss the employment-linked incentive scheme, the decision that has been cleared by the Cabinet today, we're joined by FICCI Senior Vice President Anant Goenka. He's also the Vice Chairman of the RPG Group. Also with us on the show, the former President of FICCI, Harshpati Singhania. He's currently the CMD of JK Paper. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here on the program. These are not new announcements. They were announced by the Finance Minister in the budget. What is new, though, now are the details of how this scheme is actually going to work. I'm highlighting for the benefit of our viewers what the support to employers will entail as part of this scheme. The government will incentivize employers up to 3,000 rupees per month for 2 years for each additional employee with sustained employment for at least 6 months. For the manufacturing sector, the incentives will be extended to year 3 and year 4 as well. All establishments which are registered with the EPFO will be required to hire at least 2 additional employees for employees with less than 50 employees, or 5 additional employees for employers with 50 or more employees on a sustained basis for at least 6 months. Anant Goenka, these details were awaited. Now that the scheme and its contours are known, what do you believe the offtake will be? What do you make of the details announced by the government, the incentives that have now been finally put on the table?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent boost towards generating employment. We are finding that as productivity and automation in manufacturing is growing, the pace of growth of job creation is no longer at the pace of growth of revenue growth or growth of manufacturing that used to happen. So to that extent, this is very timely. While it was announced a year ago, it's great to see the details of it coming out. I think it really supports the entire life cycle that the PM has been focusing on, which was first the PM Internship scheme, the skilling of ITIs, and now the Part A and Part B of focus on first-time employees as well as for employers, particularly on the manufacturing side. I think it's extremely comprehensive and very timely and much needed for the economy at this time. And I think the real focus on and benefit will come to MSMEs as well as the labor-intensive sectors. So we look at it very positively and are excited to see how to put it into action.
Yes, it's an important point that you made there. Let me get Mrs. Singhania to comment on that. Mrs. Singhania, as Anant Goenka was pointing out that, with smarter factories, with more and more automation, robotics, etc., that we are seeing even in the manufacturing sector, we've seen a decoupling of revenue with employment growth. Now, in that scenario, while the government is doing its part to put incentives on the table, what are we talking about in terms of the actual need for higher employment? At FICCI, what are you hearing from your membership in terms of what they seek to hire and what the job market trends look like at this point in time, what the hiring trends look like? Will these incentives spur companies to hire more if they were not planning to?
Hi, Shireen. Good to be on the show. I think, we have to break this up into different parts. I think one major part here is that while we talk about automation or, large automated manufacturing, it is linked with a very large supply chain. And that large supply chain consists of a whole bunch of medium and smaller enterprises and other areas. So they all have to be linked seamlessly if we have to be efficient in manufacturing. I think this scheme, while it will also attract large industries, because large industries are putting up new plants, they are expanding their own capacities, which require people. This scheme will focus and impact a large number of medium and small enterprises where people still work more employee intensive, as well as sectors, particularly which are people intensive. So, for example, India's traditional sectors in terms of textiles, in terms of leather, in terms of gems and jewelry, a whole bunch of other agro-food processing, and some of these sectors, which are in fabrication and a bunch of other areas, they will benefit a lot. So I think from our point of view, it's a very welcome scheme. And we look forward to participating from industry in the best way possible.
Right. Do you have an assessment of your own needs at this point in time, Mrs. Singhania, or what you would need across JK Paper? What kind of hiring you intend to do and whether this is going to spur that decision?
We are in the midst of different expansion programs. And one of the things which caught my attention, excited me, was that while this is aimed at first-time hires, at the same time is providing incentive for employers and people particularly who've got a good track record on Provident Fund, etc. So I will have to work out the calculations. But yes, I eagerly need to see and await to see how we can benefit from this. This should certainly spur people like us as well.
Anant, you came back to the point about the announcements that were made in the budget, and it was a package that the government had announced. In fact, my colleague Shivani Bazaz just reporting that the government is looking at further modifying the internship scheme because it hasn't taken off as per the expectations of the government itself. Now, I go back again to the point that we've been making about CapEx not really picking up, again to the government's own expectation. In light of where things stand, especially as far as private CapEx plans are concerned, do you really see this scheme, at least as far as the large industries are concerned, picking up from a hiring perspective?
Right. I think it's a complete cycle. So as and when you have MSMEs, labor-intensive industries recruiting more and more people, that will result in increased demand, more money in the hands of the people. And as the scheme fires with more money, people will spend more. And so overall, there are two parts which both benefit each other. I would also say that the boosting of private investment, we need to look at the firing of other aspects, such as infrastructure investments that have been happening, will start making us more and more competitive over time. And some amount of onus is on entrepreneurs themselves. One is, I would say, we need to continuously invest more and more in R&D. And the second is solve problems for the world. And as we are able to do that, we can export more, sell more, and grow at a pace faster than necessarily India growth, and take advantage and replace demand from or supply from China. So with some of this happening, whether it is what the government is doing and some things entrepreneurs have to do themselves to boost the private capex spend.
Right. You talked about R&D. One of the other decisions of the cabinet today is approving the R&D scheme to scale up research and development. Again, this was an announcement made in the budget, an allocation of 1 lakh crore rupees. What the government is now finalized is that the private sector will be encouraged to scale up R&D. The government will also look at supporting acquisition of technologies which are critical or of high strategic importance. It will also facilitate the setting up of a deep tech fund of funds. So there are more details now attached to that announcement that had come in on that 1 lakh crore rupee allocation for an R&D scheme. Anant, a quick word from you and Mr. Singhania on this.
Yes, sure. So FICCI has been working very closely with the government in terms of advising how to utilize the 1 lakh crore fund effectively. And it's great to see that come into picture. If you look at the most recent news, there have been stresses with respect to rare earth availability, fertilizer, specialist fertilizer and specialist chemicals that have been a challenge from China. So I think this is a very welcome focus area that the government has chosen, such as areas of economic security, strategic importance, and the deep tech fund of funds. But I think with that, we hope that R&D as a percentage of investment, which in India is somewhere between 1% and 2%, and the developed world is somewhere around 3%, we are able to take that up, have a lot more IP, innovation, and take a large part of global supplies and manufacturing as well.
Mr. Singhania, a quick word from you.
I think this is a very welcome move. And, to give you a practical example, in the old days, a lot of Indian companies had technology tie-ups. And Anant will relate to it because we also have a tires business. They have a tires business. We used to get our technology from overseas. But in the last few decades, we have invested hundreds of crores in new R&D centers as well as centers of excellence with IITs, wherein we develop our own technology. So any schemes like this will be a boost to doing this. And it's not just one industry, it's a whole bunch of industries. If India is to compete on a global scale with the global quality and a global supply chain, we need to develop this. Now, Shireen, that there have been, with protectionism rising, there have been further restrictions on certain technology flows. So we need to develop our own technologies, and this is really a big step in the right direction. If I may, Shireen, take half a second to just add one more aspect of what you talked about earlier. I think one important aspect we have to see is that also employment-generating sectors like services, they are also getting to be far more organized and formalized. in the earlier days, because they were informal, you didn't have a track record, you didn't have provident fund, records, etc. And a lot of the scheme talks about transfer of payments through digital means, through a direct bank transfer, using Aadhaar schemes. So today, large restaurants, large transport and logistics companies should also be beneficiaries of this scheme.
Yes, that certainly is the idea and the objective, but we will have to wait to see how both these schemes pan out. Anant Goenka, Harshpati Singhani, always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here on CNBC TV 18 with your perspective on the decisions cleared by the Union Cabinet today. But with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue right here on CNBC TV 18. We're back in a moment with more. Stay with us.